Just under 1 minute remaining in the third. Kevin Johnson. Dumas puts it down. Richard Dumas skying to bring the Suns with it.
You talk about live bodies. Well, KJ misses, but here's Richard Dumas flying in from the offside. 16 offensive rebounds for the Phoenix.
So Dumas is now guarding Jordan. Pepper. 8 unanswered for Chicago.
For Chicago, as Michael sees the double team coming, Scottie Pippen finds the opening in the seam. Jordan delivers.
Suns by 2. It has come down to this possession.
They want Michael to get a full head of steam, try to keep him in the middle of the floor.
Well, Pippen got the snap. Here's Paxson for 3. Yes! The Bulls take a 1-point lead, and Phoenix calls for time with 3 and 9/10 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. John Paxson converts. Kevin Johnson will inbound. Oliver Miller plays it. Here's Johnson. Johnson gets he could not get it off. Knocked away by Grant. It's all over. The Chicago Bulls have won 3 straight NBA championships. Horace Grant comes up with the block to conclude matters.
It was such a competitive series, perhaps even more competitive than the final records will indicate, a 4-2. What was the difference in the end, do you think, between the two teams?
I thought this last ball game was a great ball game. I thought it could have went either way. They got a pretty big cushion for 3 quarters, but we hung in there, cut the lead down in the fourth quarter, and they just made some big shots when they needed it. And certainly they deserve it. And you got to give them a lot of credit.
KJ, a lot of people made the incorrect assumption that the NBA Finals will be played in the East between the Knicks and the Bulls. Do you think that the Phoenix Suns, by the way that they played in the finals, gained a measure of respect?
Well, I think our play spoke for itself. We're not satisfied with coming up short, but this is our first go run with the guys that we have on this team. And one thing's for sure, Charles is not going to retire now. We won't let him.
And you won't either.
No, you're right.
Okay, KJ, we'll see you next season. Bob?
And so after game 2, the Phoenix fans and media were really on Kevin Johnson for his poor play, which prompted Charles Barkley at the press conference after game 2 to say to the Phoenix fans who were getting on to Kevin Johnson, if you're going to boo Kevin Johnson, give him a hard time while he's trying to concentrate and win this game for us, if it wasn't for Kevin Johnson, we wouldn't even be here. And if you're going to do all that, please don't come to the fucking game, because we don't need you. If you don't want to be with us through the good times and the bad times, we don't want you here. That was Charles Barkley's response. Good day, and welcome to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. And let's not waste no more time. Let's get right to it. So, key plays from the 1993 NBA Finals, okay? But first, I want to take it back to the 2 regular season meetings between the Phoenix Suns and the Chicago Bulls. The first meeting was in November, which was early in the season. The first meeting was November 22nd, 1992, okay? And the Bulls won that regular season game in Phoenix, 128-111. Michael Jordan had 40 points on 16 of 27 shooting, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 blocks. Pippen had 18 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. Armstrong had 19 points, 9 assists. Barkley had 22 points and 9 rebounds. Marley, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 4 steals. And Kevin Johnson had 15 points and 8 assists. And after the game, Paul Westphal said, "We're not even in the Chicago Bulls league." Okay. That's what Paul Westphal had to say about that regular season contest in November. We're not in their league. And Kevin Johnson thought that the Phoenix Suns played soft that game. Okay. So let's fast forward to March 30th in Chicago. Okay. And this time, the Suns came out on top, 113 to 109. The March 30th meeting in Chicago. Barkley had 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals. KJ had 23 points and 16 assists. But the X factor for the Suns was Cedric Ceballos. He had 27 points on 13 of 20 shooting. Okay. Jordan had 44 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Pippen was held to 8 of 19. He had 19 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Okay. So the big X factor in that game was Cedric Ceballos. Okay. So, the Bulls get to the NBA Finals. They wrap it up in 6 against the Knicks. The Suns have to go to Game 7 against the Seattle Supersonics in the Western Conference Finals, and they really suffered a big blow in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals when Cedric Ceballos injured his foot and was lost for the rest of the playoffs and the NBA Finals. Okay, so Cedric Ceballos hurt his foot. Okay. Of course, the Suns won Game 7. Barkley 44-24. If you don't know, Richard Dumas was benched that whole game. It was thought that Richard Dumas would start for Cedric Ceballos, but Richard Dumas was benched the whole game. Paul Westphal went with Tom Chambers and Danny Ainge for that Game 7. Okay. And so Cedric Ceballos, injured in Game 6, lost for the rest of the playoffs, NBA Finals. And some people only wonder, what if Cedric Ceballos had played in the NBA Finals? Okay. What if Cedric Ceballos would have played in the NBA Finals? Who knows? We'll never know who the answer to that. We'll never know who the answer to that. But I think it definitely would have made a difference. I think the Bulls would have still won, but it definitely would have made a difference. So, Game 1. Richard Dumas is back in the starting lineup for the Suns. The Bulls won 100-92. The Bulls shot 64% in the first quarter. The Suns around 30%. The Suns never led that whole game. Chicago was leading the entire game, and they won 192. Jordan had 31 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Pippen, 27 rebounds. 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. B.J. Armstrong had 16 points, 5 assists, and 3 or 4 from 3-point range. And Scott Williams had a big hit game, not in terms of points, but in other ways. He only had 4 points, but he had 10 rebounds and 3 block shots as well. Okay. Barkley had 21 points and 11 rebounds. He only shot 9 of 25. Marley had 16 points and 8 rebounds. Dumas played well, 20 points and 12 rebounds. Frank Johnson played only 9 minutes, but scored 8 points in that game. Kevin Johnson had 11 points, 2 assists, and unfortunately he had 5 turnovers too. So B.J. Armstrong was a excellent defender. Okay. And needless to say, he kept Kevin Johnson in check in game 1. Game 2, 111-108. Okay. The Suns led briefly for moments of game 2. But the Bulls were in the lead for much of the game, for a large majority of the game. The Suns took the lead at certain points, but didn't hold it for too long. Okay. So, Jordan had 42 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. 1 assist shy of a triple-double. Pippen did have a triple-double. 15 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Grant had a pretty good game. 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Barkley, 42 points and 13 rebounds. Marley, 13 points, 9 rebounds. Kevin Johnson, 4 points, 4 assists, 6 turnovers. Danny Ainge had a good game. 20 points, 4 assists, and 3 or 4 from downtown. And Kevin Johnson was really the fans, the media were really letting Kevin Johnson have it. Okay, they were letting him have it, and there were some boos for Kevin Johnson. Okay, at one point, Paul Westphal actually pulled Kevin Johnson out at certain points of the game, and he went with Frank Johnson. Okay. So Paul Westphal actually pulled Kevin Johnson out during critical times of the game and went with Frank Johnson because Frank Johnson was playing better. Okay. And at one point during the broadcast, the czar of the telestrator, aka Mike Fratello, said to Magic, who was also on the broadcast with Marv Albert, he said, Magic, at one point do you start thinking about hurt feelings? And then Magic was like, no. You can't think about no hurt feelings. You got to win in the game. The objective is to win in the game. You can't worry about hurt feelings when you're trying to win the game. Okay, so and Pippen had 2 blocks, and he had a big block near the end of game 2 because I believe Danny Ainge was going for the tie with a 3-pointer. Kevin Johnson had dished it off to Danny Ainge. Pippen got to Ainge, rotated back to Danny Ainge, and got the block. And that was pretty much it for the Phoenix Suns. Charles Barkley did come down hard on his elbow. Okay. Charles Barkley came down hard on his elbow, hurt his elbow, and it was paining him for the rest of the series. Now, the score was 111-105 Chicago, but Danny Ainge hit a 3 with no time remaining. So the final score, which should have been 111-105, was actually 111-108. Okay. So the series shifts to Chicago for game 3. 129-121 Phoenix in triple overtime. KJ this time had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. Dan Marley, 28 points, 7 rebounds, 6 of 8 from 3-point land. Barkley with the elbow pad. Charles Barkley was hurting the whole time. He said he couldn't lift his elbow without tremendous pain, but he still had 24 points, 19 rebounds, and 1 steal. Dumas played well, 17 points. Ainge was solid, 10 points, 2 or 3 from downtown. Tom Chambers had 12 points. Richard Dumas had a weird game in game 3. Played very well, but didn't see much action towards the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, and the 3 overtime periods. He really didn't see little to no action. Okay. Jordan had 44 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. B.J. Armstrong, 21 points and 7 assists. Pippen, 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. Grant got into early foul trouble. He came on late though, including a key 3-point play when he dunked in Mark West's face. Had a key 3-point play late in the game. 13 points and 17 rebounds. Horace Grant eventually fouled out. Scott Williams had an impact again, but not in terms of scoring. He only had 4 points, but had 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. So yeah, and I mentioned Barkley had one steal, and that one steal came at the most opportune time when he pretended he was going to go back down court in the third overtime, and Stacey King threw the ball right to him, and Barkley laid it in. So yeah, the one steal he did have happened at the most opportune time. So it's 2-1 Bulls. Jordan comes back. The Bulls win 111-105. Now, the thing about it is, the team only had like a day's rest for Game 3. So the Bulls and Suns immediately had to fly back to Chicago for Game 3. Okay, they only had 1 day in between. And Kevin Johnson played 62 minutes in that game. And late in the game, Jordan wasn't hitting shots. Pippen wasn't hitting shots. And Magic brought it up. He said, I think the short layoff is starting to affect both teams. But they were still shooting jumpers, and a lot of jumpers were coming up short or air balls. And Magic Johnson kept saying, he said, they're going to have to go to the hole. And yet they kept shooting jump shots, both teams. And so then Kevin Johnson said, Magic said, am I going to have to make a public service announcement? Both teams need to go to the hole because they're tired. They have no legs. In the first overtime, Barkley missed a shot that would have won the game. Horace Grant nearly made a shot that would have won the game in the first overtime. Danny Ainge missed a 3 at the end of the second overtime. No. Danny Ainge missed a 3 at the end of the first. Okay, yeah. I think it was Danny Ainge. Yeah. It was Danny Ainge who missed the game winner at the end of the second overtime because Barkley missed a shot at the end of regulation and Horace Grant missed at the end of regulation. Yeah, so Danny Ainge missed a potential game winner in the first overtime. Pippen missed the potential game winner in the second overtime. And Scottie Pippen was cramping. The legs were gone for both teams. And but the Suns ended up coming out on top 129-101. And the best thing that could have happened was there were 2 days of rest for both teams in between Game 4. So the teams had 2 days off. So they got their rest in. So and by getting rest in, the Bulls won 111-105. Just as a side note, I don't think NBA players stay in their hotels all day. Just go to practice and stay in their hotels all day, okay? That's how pressure builds, man. That's how pressure builds, okay? And so the 2 days in between Game 4, Michael Jordan played some golf. The Phoenix Suns went to Michael Jordan's restaurant, believe it or not. Yeah. Charles Barkley and Frank Johnson went to a Chicago Cubs baseball game. Yeah. Yeah. But back on the court, Jordan had 55 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. Pippen had 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 10 assists. Grant had 17 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks. B.J. Armstrong contributed with 11 points, 6 assists, and 3 steals. Barkley had 32 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals. Marley, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 of 5 from downtown. Kevin Johnson had a solid game again, 19 points, 4 assists. Dumas had 17 points. There were 2 key plays that happened in that fourth quarter, okay? The Suns had the ball. They were inbounding the ball from half court, and they inbounded the ball. Kevin Johnson fumbled the ball, and Armstrong got possession of it, okay? And while the Bulls had possession, of course, they gave it to Jordan. Jordan drove past Dan Marley, and Jordan was fouled by Barkley for an and one situation. And Magic Johnson put it up best. Magic Johnson said, it would have been better for Charles to foul him all the way than to just halfway foul him. Okay? In other words, what he meant was Charles should have fouled Michael Jordan to not let him get the shot off. Okay? So by halfway fouling Jordan, he was able to get the shot off and convert for the 3-point play. So, yeah. Suns came right back, won game 5, 108-98. Barkley, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Dan Marley, 11 points. Kevin Johnson, 25 points, 8 assists. Richard Dumas, 25 points, 5 rebounds. Jordan, 41 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 blocks. Pippen, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. Paxson, 12 points, 3 steals, 4 or 5 from downtown. Okay. But Suns won 108-98, sent the series back to Phoenix. Horace Grant scored only 1 point that whole game in game 5, by the way. So the Bulls led 86-78 at the end of the third quarter in game 6. And it looked like they were on their way to the victory, but Phoenix made a run. Phoenix outscored Chicago 20-12 in the fourth quarter. And Michael Jordan had 9 of the 12 points. Jordan had 33 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Pippen, 23 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. Armstrong, 18 points, 4 assists, 4 or 5 from downtown. Paxson had 8 points, including the game winner, and John Paxson was the only guy, besides Michael Jordan, to score in the fourth quarter. I mentioned it moments ago. Jordan had 9 points. Paxson had the final 3, which was 12 points, okay? And so Trent Hooker played well that game. Had 9 points. Barkley had 21 points. 17 rebounds, 4 assists. KJ had 19 points, 10 assists. Marley, 21 points, 8 rebounds, but he was only 2 of 8 from downtown. Chambers had 12 points and 5 rebounds. And the key plays of that game were when the Suns were up 98-94, okay? And Phoenix had the basketball and had a chance to go up 100-94. And Frank Johnson took the shot, which was what the Bulls probably wanted, and he missed. And so Jordan came right down on a layup. Suns come back down. Marley shoots a shot, air ball. And of course, the final sequence is broken down beautifully by Suns players, Suns coaches, Bulls players, Bulls coaches. Paxson hits the 3. So the Suns have the ball, still have a chance to win it. Oliver Miller's inbounding the ball. They inbound the ball No. I can't remember who was inbounding the ball, but I believe it was Kevin Johnson who was inbounding the ball. And he got it to Oliver Miller. And Oliver Miller got it back to KJ. And Horace Grant, who had scored a combined 2 points in games 5 and 6, came up with the game-winning block. And that was it for the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, in 1993, as a Bulls fan, I'm going like, yes. Now, looking back on it, several years later, you're looking back on it and say, I'm still glad the Bulls won. But man, looking at the disappointment on Barkley's face, KJ's face, they kind of made you feel for the Phoenix Suns too. They kind of made you feel for the Phoenix Suns because they played their asses off the whole series, man. They played their asses off, and so you're happy. So several years later, you're happy, still happy the Bulls won, but you also feel for the Phoenix Suns at the same time because that was really their best shot to get one. Okay, so all right, that's it and that's all. I am Sean Farrell. God bless you all. Peace out. See y'all on the next one.
TeamPocket.com.